Hi everyone, and welcome back to Minerva Tutors TV. And today's session, which is Spy School, so it's very special. We have Sadie here to teach us all about codes and invisible writing, and basically bring us all together to foil an evil plan. So Sadie normally is a tutor for Minerva Tutors, and she teaches maths up to GCSE and 11 plus preparation. So I will hand over to Sadie.
Okay, everyone, welcome to Spy School. I'm really glad you're here. We are going to be making and breaking codes. We are going to use all sorts of strange, ingenious devices from history, including using a lemon and cotton bud, which will be coming up very soon. This area of learning is called cryptography, and it's been really, really important throughout the ages. So historically, politicians and spies and even whole countries have used secret codes to stop their enemies knowing what was going on. And today, arguably, it's even more important because it's vital for computer science. And in fact, the only way that we can talk and have this lesson today over the internet is because of a very special code that we'll come across a bit later. But for now, we have much more pressing things to concern ourselves with. Because earlier today, I received a message from someone quite high up in government with details of an attack that's coming. So this is our top secret mission for today. I heard that an evil supervillain is planning on sending one of their agents to launch an attack. Now, they didn't want to say all that much more over the phone because they were worried that the line was being bugged and that someone might have been listening. But then I received these 4 envelopes through my door. And it is my belief that each of them holds a clue that is going to help us work out what this attack is going to be. See, at the moment, we don't know what the attack's going to be, where it's going to happen, who's going to do it, or when it's going to happen. If we can work out all those things, I think we can foil the evil villain's plan. So, to begin with, let's have a look at clue 1. Now, clue 1 is hopefully going to tell us what the attack will be. Is it going to be a clown bomb, an attack of killer cats, a flaming octopus invasion? Who knows? Let's have a look. Okay, it's a little bit strange because it's just a blank piece of paper. Totally blank. Has anyone got any idea what this might be? There might have been a clue in what was sent out to you earlier. But if you'd like to make a guess as to what it might be, write your guess in the chat bar now so I can see it. We'll be using the chat bar quite a bit today, so it might be a good chance to try out writing an answer in the chat. Very good. First answer in, Hal Richards. Very good. Great, all your answers are coming in, they're all correct. It is indeed invisible ink that's on here. So it's not strictly speaking a code, this one, but invisible ink has been used loads of times throughout history and actually got a lot of people into trouble. Take, for example, Mary, Queen of Scots. So she was a Tudor. You might have learnt about the Tudors at school already. There we've got Henry VIII in the middle. He's probably the most famous of the Tudors. And then we've got Elizabeth I in the yellow dress and Mary, Queen of Scots in the black dress. Now, Elizabeth and Mary were both cousins, so they should have got on really well. But in fact, they hated each other. You see, Mary inherited the Scottish throne, and she was just a tiny weeny baby when that happened. Elizabeth inherited the English throne, and then when they were both grown up, they had a really bitter rivalry. See, firstly, Elizabeth I was a Protestant and Mary was a Catholic, and those two groups of people really didn't like each other. But more importantly, they both really wanted to be Queen of England. Now, Elizabeth was convinced that Mary was plotting to get rid of her. Mary promised she wasn't, but Elizabeth didn't believe her, and so she locked her away in a big house because she didn't trust her. But it turns out that didn't stop Mary. See, one day she was caught red-handed plotting a plan to kill Elizabeth. See, one of Elizabeth's henchmen caught Mary with a letter that held details of a plot. And Mary really almost got away with it because the plot was actually written in invisible ink. But one of Elizabeth's henchmen worked out how to reveal the message. And bad news for Mary, because unfortunately she was beheaded. Poor old Mary. Oh well. But more importantly for us spies, how did they manage to discover the secret writing? Well, if we think, to know what the answer is to that, it might be more useful to think about what the letter was made from. So, back in those days, they used to write with a quill and ink. Well, they wrote on parchment, and this letter that was written using a thing called nut gall, which is found on trees. Now, today, we're going to be replicating this kind of letter, but we're going to use a cotton bud and a small bowl instead of a quill, because I don't imagine many of you have quills at home. Just some plain paper will do instead of parchment, and we're going to use lemon juice because nut gall is a little bit hard to come by. But they'll act in exactly the same way, so we use an acidic liquid as the ink. So the letter was written by dipping, we're going to squeeze out the lemon. They squeezed out the nut gall, dipping something in it and then writing using that as ink. And what happens then is that when the writing dries, it dries completely clear. So you can give it to someone without worrying that anyone else is going to see it. And the real key question, how does that person who gets it know what's written on it if it's all invisible? Well, what they do is they know to heat the paper up again. And when they heat that piece of paper, something really special happens. So the Tudors would have used a match to heat up the paper, but I don't want to risk a fire. It's a little bit risky. So I am instead going to use a clothes iron. And while I get on with that and just prepare the clothes iron to heat up this message so that we can crack it, I would like you to have a go at writing a secret message of your own. So to do this, what you need to do is take your lemon, or hopefully half a lemon, it's cut in half. If not, maybe get someone to help you cut it. And squeeze some juice into a bowl. Then you've got to think of a secret message you might want to give someone in your house. So something short and punchy, maybe you want to try and organise a midnight feast. You won't be able to write loads and loads on your piece of paper. So yeah, something quite short. And then you've just got to wait for it to dry. Okay, secret agents. Hopefully you managed to get a secret message done, but don't worry if you didn't, you can always carry on later. So now to reveal our secret message. So I'm just ironing over, nice hot iron. Oh, and I can start to see something. Hopefully you might be able to see on your screens at home. If not, I'll hold it up in a second. So what's happening here is the bit that was written on is turning a brown colour. Okay, I think that is the whole message revealed to me. Pop this back on its cradle. Hold this up to the camera, but the light, you might not be able to see it very clearly, so I'll turn it back round. Slime explosion. We are expecting a slime explosion. How gooey and disgusting is that? Crikey, think of the mess. So, slime explosion. Great. Good that you're all using the chat. Thank you so much. Loving your suggestions. So let's have a think about why it works. Well, the fact is that lemon juice is acidic. So when we paint it on, the acid soaks into the paper and then we let it dry and all the water disappears so we can't see it anymore. But when we heat it, a process called oxidization happens and that turns the acid brown, and the acid has been soaked into the paper so it's still secretly there and it just needs to be heated to show it. So that's the science behind it for you. And this was a method that was also used at some other points in history. So there were famously people called the lemon juice spies during World War I. So during World War I, the government used to open people's letters to check if they were giving away any secrets. And a very cunning British spy called Mabel Beatrice Elliott had a hunch that there were some German spies that were living in Britain and sending letters back to Germany. But when their post was opened, there was nothing incriminating written on them. But she had the idea to heat up the letters, and they revealed that they were in fact spies. So then the British went and tracked them down and caught them, and they were in fact caught with lemons in their pockets. So it's pretty obvious what they've been doing. So this is brilliant, everyone. We now know what is going to happen. It's a slime explosion. Gross. So now it's time to have a look at the next clue. And this clue should tell us where the attack is going to happen. So, open this one up. Ooh. And this, don't know whether you can see it. Don't worry, I'm about to put it on the share screen. This is just a jumble of letters. I'll put it up for you. There, you can see it now. So to me, what this looks like is a cipher. Now, ciphers are any method of transforming a message to conceal its meaning, and they've been used since the ancient Greek times. So, how do we use a cipher? Well, often the way they work is as follows. We first of all create a cipher key. So if you look at the screen now, you can see that we've got an alphabet running along the top of the grid. Those are all the yellow boxes. So we just go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way to Z. And then just below, in the blue boxes, we have the code. So all that this code has done is we've moved the alphabet along by a certain number of places. So here we've moved it 2 along. So all the letters are just 2 places to the right-hand side. Now, let's have a think about how we would use this cipher key. So let's say we wanted to work out how to say dog using this cipher key. Well, the first thing that we would do is we would go to the letter D on the yellow part of our grid. There it is. We look below and see what the code letter is. In this case, it's B. And then we write that down next to D on the bit we want to crack. Let's have a look at the next one. We'd look at O. It codes to be M, so we write that down. And then if we look at the last letter, G, it codes to E, so we write it down. So in code, using this code, dog would be written B-M-E, bumeh. I don't know whether that's how you'd say it, but that's what it would code with. Now let's think, imagine if you received this note. So your friend sends you a note that says bumeh, and you need to try and work out what that is in actual language, in normal English. Well, Once again, you would have the same cipher key as the person who wrote it to you. So I've put it up there again. And we would go, oh, well, we look this time at the blue layer of the grid. So we go to B in blue, and this time we look up and see that that codes to be D. We go to M and see that that is meant to be an O. And then we go to E and see that that's meant to be a G. And then we could work out that it's supposed to say dog. And this is a really reliable system. So 2 people have the same cipher key and they know how to use it. And one of the ways that was used in ancient times was 2 people, maybe 2 friends, would both have a wooden block and a leather strap that they wrap around it. And you can see from the picture that that creates a kind of cipher key. So they could send each other messages and then both use their cipher key to decode it because they both have the same key. Now, if we think about the code that we've got, this clue we've got to crack, we haven't been given a cipher key, so we're going to have to work out the code ourselves. Well, what we can do first is look for patterns in the letters. So I want you all to have a look now at which letters appear the most in this code. Right, well, let's have a look. We've got a lot of J's. That's a really popular letter in this code. Now, one of the things that we could work out from that is that, oh great, lots of people saying J, fantastic, is that J is really likely to be a vowel because vowels come up loads and loads in the English language. So just to remind ourselves of what all the vowels are, we've got A, E, I, O, U. So it might be sensible to think that J is code for one of those vowels. Probably not certain which one yet, but keep that in mind as we move on. All right, another thing we can look at in terms of trying to crack a code is we can look for small words. So the thing is, there aren't all that many small words in the English language and they tend to come up a lot. So we've got some really important ones, but there's not a huge number of them. So if we look, we've got a small word there, a small word there, a small word there. So now I'd like you to think of as many small words that you can. Let's have a think about if any of the small words along the bottom of the slide would fit quite well in this code. And I want you to think now about making a guess about what the letter O is likely to be code for. So what is the letter O likely to be code for? You can see that it appears in VO and then also in OCZ. I think the most likely answer is that it's going to be a T. Okay, so we're going to keep that in mind. Okay, now another thing we can look at is double letters. So in the middle of the first word, we have 2 Zs. That's really useful to us because double letters don't always appear. So I now want you to have a think about what letter we sometimes find twice in the middle of a word. With this word, it's very likely to be EE. There are other options, but it's likely that it's EE. So we're going to work on that assumption. So if Z codes to E and O codes to T, we can start to create our own cipher key. So Z coding to E, we can put in that gap on a cipher key. We can also put O coding to T on that cipher key. And now I want you to have a think about where A should go. Where might A go? Well, the trick is going to be to count back from E. So if we count back from E position in the alphabet, it would mean that V and A code to one another. So, secret agents, that's enough of me gabbling on. I would like you to try and now crack this code. So the first thing you're going to have to do is draw the grid below. So we've got an alphabet along the top, and then we're going to fill in the codes starting at B, which codes to A, and then just write the alphabet going to the right. And when you get to the end, go back to the beginning and continue the alphabet. If you've got any questions about that, I'm very happy to answer them in the chat. And then once you've created your cipher code, I want you to use it to crack the rest of the clue. Code cracked. Well done, secret agents. Did you get the same thing as me? It says meet at the Tower of London. Let's review where we are. We now know what. It's going to be a slime explosion. We know where. It's going to be at the Tower of London. Now we need to find out who's going to do it. Clue 3. Okay. Ooh, this is a strange one because this is a listening clue. And when we listen, I wonder what we'll hear. So listen carefully. How weird, loads of strange beeping. I'll play it again, but do post in the chat if you have any idea what this code might be. Very good, we've got some correct answers. Yes, those of you who guessed that it was Morse code are completely right. So what is Morse code? Well, Morse code was invented by a man called Samuel Morse, go figure. And he created the code in the 1830s in response to the invention of the telegraph, which he also in fact created. So the telegraph was a machine that sent and received messages by sending electrical currents by wire. So by using a series of electrical pulses, short bursts of electrical energy, the telegraph could then make marks on a piece of paper. But those marks wouldn't mean anything without a code, and therefore Morse code was born. Now, Morse code is a communication system that represents the alphabet and numbers with a series of dots and dashes, or a combination of the two of them. So the dots are short sounds, and they're also known as dits. So you can see that they're represented by a circle, little blob. And the dashes are long sounds, and they're known as dars. So it's made up of dits and dars. And it kind of makes sense because dit is a short word, dar is a much longer word. And because you can tap them out and you can write them, you can either read Morse code or you can hear it. Okay, so let's have a look at what the alphabet is in Morse code. Okay, so we can see that this is made up of those little dits and dars, dots and dashes. Now, let's have a think about what would this be code for? We've got dit, 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 da, 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 dit, dit, dit. So dit, dit, dit is one letter, da, da, da is another letter, dit, dit, dit is the third letter. I want you to have a think about what that would be code for. And remember that the dits are little dots and the dars are the dashes. Okay, did you manage to get it? The answer is SOS. And this stands for Save Our Souls. You may have heard of it before. This is a really good example of an abbreviation or a shortening of a phrase. And it's a really sensible thing to do with Morse code, because if you try to communicate a whole long words, it might take you really quite a long time. So actually, a lot of abbreviations were invented because of this during World War II. The ones I put up on the screen are modern abbreviations. So I don't think World War II soldiers were saying LOL and BTW, but they had a lot of their own abbreviations. So we know what that was written down, but let's have a listen to how that sounds, SOS. Can you make that out? So we've got dit, 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 da, 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 dit, dit, dit. We'll listen one more time. Cool, okay. So now to listen to the clue that we've got to crack. So we have got right, that's quite a lot to hear in one go. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it letter by letter. So can you have a pen or pencil at the ready and something to write down on? So grab that and we're going to listen to the first letter. I'll play that one more time. Write down on a piece of paper what you think that one was. Okay, we're going to move on to the second letter. Ready? That was the second letter. I'll play it for you again. And one more time, I'll play that second letter. Okay, hopefully you might have an idea. Now on to the third letter. Play that again. And I'll play that one more time. This is still the third letter. Okay, on to the fourth letter. A bit more complicated. I'll play that again. And I'll play that one more time. If you didn't get it, listen really closely. Now we move on to the fifth letter. Quite short, that one. Play it again. I'll play it one more time. Did you manage to work out what those letters were? So, which one of these enemy agents is going to do the attack? Having worked out those letters, we've got an option. We've got either Top Hat, Scully, Smiles, or Shadow. So if you didn't manage to get all of the letters, which one of these agents would make most sense given the letters you did manage to work out? It's Agent Smiles. She may look friendly as anything, but secretly she's not as charming as she looks. All right, agents, we know what's coming. It's a slime explosion. We know where it's happening. It's the Tower of London. And we now know who. It's Agent Smiles. Solved. We have just got one more clue to crack. Okay. Open this up. Okay, this might be the most puzzling of all. What I've got is just a load of ones and zeros. What on earth could that mean? Oh, and this is going to tell us when. We need to find out when. Does anybody have any idea what a string of zeros and ones might be a code for? Well, this is what it looks like. It is, in fact, binary. Now, binary is a way of writing numbers using only 2 digits, 0 and 1. So how does that work? Well, it's a little bit complicated, but maybe it's a good idea to think about the number system that we're all used to, first of all, because that'll help us out. So we are generally used to using a number system that's built on tens. Now that means that each column of numbers is worth a multiple of 10. So if you look at the grid I've put on there, we've got different columns. We've got units, tens, hundreds, thousands. Hopefully you might have learned a bit about this in school already. So if you look at the number that's written down, we've got 1111. How do we say this number out loud? I'd like you to say it out loud right now. Okay, did you say the right number? What we should have said is 1111. Now, let's think about why we say that. It's because we've got 1 in the thousands column. That means we've got 1 lot of 1,000. We're going to add that to 1 lot of 100. We're going to add that to 1 lot of 10. And then we're going to add 1 unit on its own. If we add all those numbers together, we get 1,111. Hopefully you're still following. If it's a little bit complicated, don't worry too much. I'm going to keep taking you through it. Okay, I'd now like you to say, what is this number? Say it out loud. Okay. Very good. Hopefully you said 1,000. Now we're going to think about this same number, but written down in binary. So, oh, yeah, there we go, written down in binary. So we've got exactly the same digits written down. We've got 1, 0, 0, 0. But you can see from this drawing that we have got different column headings. So they're no longer units, tens, hundreds, thousands. Instead, we've got 1, 2, 4, 8. So what happens here is the columns double as they go along. So 1 doubles to 2, 2 doubles to 4, 4 doubles to 8. And if we carried on going with our columns, they would just keep doubling. So you can see that we've got 1 lot of 8 with this binary number, which means that this number in binary is 8. So it's no longer, we would no longer say it's 1,000, we would instead say that it's 8. All right, I want you to have a go at working out this number in binary, because it is in fact 4. We've got 1 lot of 4, it's sitting in the 4 column, so it's just 4, even though in our number system it might look like it would be 100. So the reason is we've got 0 lots of 32, 0 lots of 16, 0 lots of 8, 1 lot of 4, 0 lots of 2, 0 lots of 1. That all adds to give 4. A little bit complicated, but hopefully you're still following. Okay, now a challenge for you. Can you work out what this number is? Using exactly the same rule. See if you can work out what this number is. Secret agents. The answer was 43, and I'll show you why. It's because we've got 1 lot of 1. We add that to 1 lot of 2. We don't have anything in the 4 columns, so we don't need to add anything there. We've got 1 lot of 8 and 1 lot of 32. If you add all those numbers up, you get 43. Okay, so we're going to have a look at our clue again. This is what I was sent in the mail. And to help us out, I'm going to add in those column headings. And now, secret agents, you've got a minute or so to try and work out what each number is. So each row is 1 number. So you should end up with 4 numbers as your answer. So work out what number each row should be. I can now reveal that the first row coded to 7, the second row in binary was 5, the third row in binary was 16, and the fourth row in binary was 42. Really well done if you got that. It's not an easy system to work out. Now, what on earth could that mean? 7, 5, 16, 42. Well, 7th of May at 4:42. Oh my goodness. It looks like the explosion might already have happened, but hopefully I haven't heard anything on the news yet. So hopefully we might still be able to stop it. We have solved that last clue. It's going to be a slime explosion at the Tower of London, done by Agent Smiles today at 4:42. Well done, secret agents. I'm going to email the government and let them know that this is happening very, very soon, if it hasn't already happened. And it's probably worth noting that the only reason that I'll be able to email them is because of binary. So do you remember at the beginning of the lesson, I said that codes run loads of computing systems nowadays? That is because of binary. So the circuits in a computer's processor are made up of billions of little transistors. Now, it's all very complicated, but a transistor is just a tiny switch that is activated by an electronic signal that it receives. And the digits 1 and 0 mean on or off. And so they tell the transistor to be on or off. Now, everything in a computer is represented as streams of binary numbers, so just loads of ones and zeros. That means audio, images, and characters all look like binary numbers in machine code. And these numbers are then encoded to mean different things. So a little string of ones and zeros might mean type the letter A. So why don't you try and find out more about binary and computer coding online? It's such an interesting area to explore. You could find some websites that tell you the history of coding, or you could even do some coding yourself. There is loads of places you can try and do your own coding. Or how about finding a buzzer, something that just buzzes when you hold it down? You could even use a mobile phone for that, or a musical instrument of some kind. And you could try and communicate with your household in Morse code, because you now know how to do that. Or you could try and make a cipher key. Or if you really want a challenge, you could make a special kind of cipher key called a Caesar's wheel. And you could do that with a friend so that you can send secret messages between you. And do not forget that you have got to give your invisible ink letter to someone and watch their amazed face as the message appears when they heat it up. And they can heat it up using an iron like I did. Make sure there's an adult around if you're doing that, because it's a little bit dangerous. Or they can hold it in front of a lamp. They might have to do it for a little while because it's not quite as hot.
Thank you very much, Sadie. Thank you to everyone who came and took part. It was great to see the chat so lively. So well done for all that. And we hope you can come to other Minerva Tutors lessons. There'll be a schedule for next week coming out on Monday, so keep your eyes out for that.